Back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill.
And I'm Kyle Hunter from HunterSportsPicks.com.
Thank you for joining us today and going over the nice slate we have for the weekend. And we actually have a huge slate of college games. Of course, a couple other got canceled. Buffalo just radioed in down to me, and that game is canceled now. Unfortunately, Buffalo versus Ohio. And Georgia's game was just canceled against Vanderbilt this morning as well. So, keep your eyes for that. But now that's Friday. I'm thinking hopefully the cancellations will be a bit less now, and we'll have these games and a good idea of what's going on. But Kyle, man, how you been doing?
Doing pretty well, man. This is a busy time of the year. We've got college hoops in a big way now. College basketball. We kind of wondered how it would go. To be honest, I think it's gone pretty well compared to what some people predicted. There have been cancellations there, but it's not been, across the board cancellations everywhere. So really, and I would say, trying to be optimistic here, there's a little bit less college football games canceled than a couple weeks ago. And then now we have college basketball doing fairly well. So I think as a sports fan and a bettor, it's going about as well as it could be at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the slate's so nice and big, and makes you feel happy that you have this slate. And plus, with betting apps these days, when people used to have to run to get cash their tickets, imagine having to do that in a canceled game. It's like, oh, great, now I have to, just go back and get this canceled. I can't get my money back right now
Right.
to put it on a new game. Well, with the apps, you can. So that's why it doesn't. I don't mind betting these a little earlier, even though if they might get canceled. A lot of people around Maryland actually that I've talked to, and that game unfortunately was canceled. But with the betting app, it's kind of good. People figured that was going to cancel too. A lot of scariness with the Ohio State thing. A lot of media, Kirk Herbstreit and some other people got from some of their crazy claims that Michigan's gonna screw Ohio State by canceling the game.
Yeah, that's Ohio State's been in the news a lot for sure. And obviously, I'm a big Buckeyes fan. Not afraid to say that. I love Ohio State. I handicap their games just like I would at any other game. I will say, betting Ohio State and Michigan State, not something I want to do this weekend. Michigan State's a bad team. I don't know who's going to be out for Ohio State, though. There's definitely going to be some players out. They just haven't said who they're going to be. So you're living dangerously if you want to bet that one.
That's for sure. Well, let's move into our games then. And guess what? We have a college basketball game to talk about this weekend. And so we're going to do two college football games, one college basketball game, and then our couple NFL games as usual, with our most likely dog to win outright and our free plays. So let's get started right away. We're going to go with BYU, Coastal Carolina. BYU is laying about 10 points here. The total on this game is a pretty high 61.5. But looking at my screen here, looking at the money, BYU has taken a little bit of money, 50% of the tickets on BYU, 69% of the money, even at the 10, kind of bouncing around the 10 a little bit. But what shocked me the most is this over. People are betting the over. I don't know how sharp it is. It didn't move it much, 61 to 61.5. But you can see right now all the money's on the over and nobody's betting the under. And, I kind of thought Coastal Carolina is a slower paced defensive team, and I know BYU's offense has just been amazing this year, but looking at their schedules, it's kind of, it makes me really scratch my head about this over, Kyle. And maybe you can touch on that a little bit here. And, my thoughts about it before you do that. BYU, I'm really happy that this game happened. I'm really happy that I was looking forward to the Liberty game. And now that they rescheduled this, it's great because BYU's got a real opponent to face now. It's like, come on, And Coastal Carolina, it's not like they're facing Ohio State or nothing, but Coastal Carolina is still an undefeated team. We have a battle of undefeated teams. How do you not like that? BYU is an amazing plus 3.15 yards per play. And at the end of a schedule, I don't know if I remember seeing that at the very end of anyone's schedule. The beginning couple games you see that, but not the end. But at the same time, their schedule has been pretty easy. Coastal Carolina plus 1.56 yards per play. Looking at the matchup, there's nothing wrong with BYU. there's no weak spot that I can point out because they're leading pretty much everything in efficiency, and all the metrics. They're kicking everybody's butt. But at the same time, their schedule ranks 106th on Sagarin, and Coastal Carolina's schedule ranks 107th. So if you trust Sagarin a ton, I guess you could really compare these teams and run them through an algorithm or whatever you want to do. For me, I have a number and it's at 7. I think Coastal Carolina is a 7-point favorite according to my power ratings. I think BYU is a ton of upside, but Boise State was the only somewhat real team that they played, and I can't remember if Boise State's quarterback was out or not for a while that game. I thought there was something there, but BYU took care of them, and a lot of people were on BYU then, and it was a great win. BYU's been amazing against the spread, but so is Coastal. And Coastal Carolina is not going to take them lightly. BYU needs to put the throttle down to be considered for the playoff. I don't think Coastal Carolina expects to be in a playoff. And if they somehow win against BYU, I still don't think people are going to take them serious. This is a bigger game for BYU. One thing I want to say, Kyle, and I think you and I have talked about this over the years, I never liked BYU's coach, Kalani Sitake. I always thought he made boneheaded mistakes. I think in their bowl game last year, he made a massive boneheaded mistakes. So I scratched my head on how good this team is. I'm like, how did this happen? It almost feels like they're Northwestern with an offense to me, right? Seriously. But I think maybe offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes has been really the secret behind this team, right? Kind of like the Joe Brady behind this team. So, in my opinion, I don't want to bet it. I certainly want to watch it, but I'll tell you, the under is a lean to me right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you meant when you were talking about this that you had BYU as a 7-point favorite, right?
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. Did I say Coastal? Yeah. 7-point.
Yeah.
Dog, 7-point home dog is what I meant for Coastal. So thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the listeners didn't think that you had Coastal -7. I knew you probably had BYU -7. So yeah, I have BYU -8 in this game. To be honest with you, BYU is not in the easiest of spots, right? Because they didn't expect to play this team. Now they have to travel a really long ways away to go play this game at the last minute. If you look at this game, it's going to be played at 5:30 Eastern. No bad weather for this one. It's 49 degrees. So, BYU would obviously be used to the cold, probably more than Coastal Carolina, but 49 degrees, not really that cold anyways. No real wind to speak of here. I think the reason people are betting this total up is they think that Coastal Carolina hasn't played a team that's even close to this as far as an offense. And, as far as explosiveness, I think that's a fair point to make. I do agree with you, though, that both of these teams play slow enough. It's hard to take over 62.5. BYU is 92nd in tempo in the country. Coastal Carolina is 119. And Coastal really likes to play slow and run the ball nearly every play. They run on 65% of their plays on offense. I can't take an over 62.5 when one team's playing that slow and running the ball all the time. So I could only bet the under here. My number for this one was 60.5. So I do like the under just a little bit. As far as the side, BYU almost 8 yards per play so far this year. Really impressive. But like you said, who have they played that really has a good defense? When they did play Boise had all kinds of players out. Their quarterback, a bunch of guys on defense were out. That win was not nearly as good as it normally would be, certainly for BYU. I don't want to bet against BYU that much. But if I had to take a side, I would have to take Coastal. You take 10.5 points. That's my lean in this game. Special teams wise, I wanted to mention these two teams. BYU is 6th in the country according to S&P. Coastal Carolina 28th. So both teams good in special teams. Coastal Carolina is going to run the ball consistently. I do think BYU is better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. Grayson McCall is a good quarterback for Coastal Carolina, but they're really built on the run. Zach Wilson does everything for BYU. The one thing I'll say is you mentioned BYU and their coaching has been questionable at times in big games. The thing that BYU really does is they can be really predictable on 3rd and 4th and short. We saw this in some of these games earlier this year. I remember the BYU and Houston game where I think you had it, and I had BYU as well. And Houston really, looked like they were going to win the game, and they just completely fell apart. But BYU had a couple third and short or fourth and short, and they just load in a jumbo package and run it right up the middle. It's like that's what they knew was coming. Can we do something else?
It's like
If you
Wisconsin.
bring in, yeah, you bring in, a defensive lineman to block for the running back or something, and you run right behind him. I mean, they know that's coming. So it'd be nice to see a little bit more imagination there on those third and fourth and shorts. If they do that here, I could see Coastal having a chance to pull an upset. I'll be surprised if Coastal wins this game, though. BYU should win this game. This one's set up nicely for BYU to say, hey, we beat a good opponent who was undefeated. However, I do think that, after that, then the question will be, how good was Coastal? The Sun Belt's not a great league, obviously. BYU, it's not like they're playing Cincinnati even. It doesn't even have to be Ohio State or Clemson. Cincinnati, BYU would have been a great matchup. I would have loved to see that. Having said that, I'm looking forward to watching this game. My leans, Coastal plus 10.5 and under. I don't think I'll bet this game. I think I'll just watch it.
Man, we are dying for Cincinnati versus BYU. That game
Yeah.
would be so awesome to watch. And wouldn't it be so cool if somehow they can make that happen? Say BYU wins this game. Obviously, let's just say that Clemson beats Notre Dame. They're both in the playoff. Maybe they want to do something a little bit extra. That would be pretty sweet if that happened. You also wonder if Ohio State would want to get into the Cincinnati type. Their proximity is good, and you know, if everyone keeps canceling games on them, they might need some, and maybe the Big Ten makes an adjustment. That would be interesting. I remember when Ohio State beat Cincinnati by like 40 points last year, and it was closer, but they just pounded them. So that was really interesting. I'd be curious to see that rematch. But a lot of scenarios can happen this year in college, but it's real exciting to see the adjustments made. I think it's time to get out of the dark ages here and start moving forward with a lot of these things. A lot of the ways we judge penalties and a lot of the ways that we decide on games, because what happened this year is unprecedented. And I think that Coastal and BYU did a great job rescheduling this. Next, move on to the next game, Kyle. This is a really interesting one, too. We have Texas A&M versus Auburn, right? They're at Auburn. And you look at the money, it says 50% of the bets, roughly 49, are on Texas A&M, but 76% of the money. I think this is a lot of early money. It went from minus 3.5 up to 6.5, and it's kind of fluttering around 6.5 to 6 on some books. So I think there's a lot of, just from the shows I've watched, some of the podcasts I listened to, and some of the sports bettors I respect that I've talked to and texted with, they seem to like Texas A&M, or I'm sorry, Auburn on this game, and I don't disagree with them necessarily here. I think that Auburn looked terrible last week against Alabama, absolutely terrible, but it's Alabama. Alabama's at home. They're a revenge tour this year. They got LSU next, right? I mean, revenge against Auburn, and that happened strong. And funny, Auburn kind of almost covered that spread at the end. They faltered on that last drive, but they're just kind of, they're punched in the mouth from the get go. But I don't think A&M can punch people in the mouth. And I never bought into A&M. I always had them lower my power ratings than most people do. A&M's had a pretty favorable schedule, let's say, for an SEC schedule. Their only road games was that Alabama game, and they got destroyed too by Alabama, right? And that was when Alabama's defense wasn't even that good. And then they had Mississippi State on the road and South Carolina. A couple really bad bottom of the barrel SEC teams this year. Not quite Vanderbilt bottom, but still bottom. So they're a positive 1 yard per play with a favorable schedule. And Auburn's about even. I think it's minus 0.1. And Auburn's at home here. What does Auburn have left to do? They can say that they took Texas A&M out of this. So I can completely see people's angles on it. So as far as for me, I'd rather see if I can get a 7 personally. Okay? So I want to lean strong to Auburn at the 6.5. I'm going to give a strong lean to Auburn, but I'm not sure if I'm going to play it at that. I might, but right now it's a lean. Do you have any thoughts on this game, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I always like it when we agree. I mean, I think I would say almost exactly what you said. I like Auburn here if I can get a 7. I lean strongly to Auburn at the number that it is right now. And I will say, we always talk about underdogs that have a chance of winning outright. I think Auburn has a chance of winning this game. So I don't think money line Auburn is a terrible way. You're certainly not setting money on fire or something. This is a spot where I think Auburn has a chance. Texas A&M, I was looking through their box score last week, and I know everybody says, well, there was some wind and rain. It was a little bit bad conditions. What happened to Kellen Mond last week? I mean, LSU's defense is really not very good. He was 11 for 34 passing for 105 yards. And there's a couple things that stand out to me about that. One, if it's windy and rainy and you're ahead, why are you throwing 34 times, 11 for 34? And in 34 attempts and 105 yards, that's about as bad as you'll get. I still am not convinced that Kellen Mond is a great quarterback. I know a lot of people are. I don't think in these really big games that I trust him. I think Texas A&M needs to lean on their running game, but I think Auburn is going to dare Kellen Mond to beat them here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if he can put up big numbers. I don't think he'll have near as bad a game as he had last game, but Texas A&M with 3.8 yards per play against LSU, which is pretty inexcusable, to be honest, regardless of the conditions. I think Texas A&M is overvalued here. I don't think Auburn's a great team, so I'm not excited to run and bet Auburn, but I think that Texas A&M is a team that I'd rather fade than bet on. So like you, I lean to Auburn pretty strongly here. If I can get a 7, I'll bet this game. If I can't, I probably won't, or I'll just put a little bit on the money line just for fun. I do lean to the under in this one as well. Now, this one's already moved down. I think this plays out as a game where both teams like to run the football, be a little bit conservative. So I lean to the under in this one, and a strong lean here to Auburn.
Great stuff. And I suppose from a straight power ratings, I have Texas A&M a 3.75 favorite, so it's not near 6.5. And it's been 6 is somewhat of a key number to me, so that's why I'm waiting for a 7. But good stuff. Well, let's go to a huge game, Kyle. We might have to have multiple TVs on this weekend, man, as usual. But yeah, you have your one to your side. You have your iPad on the left. You have the one on the wall. That's kind of what I do. But,
Yeah.
I'd have a TV on every single piece of the wall if my wife would let me. Trust me. But if we're not going out to watch games at sports books or at sports bars, then you want to definitely have a lot of TVs on if possible. So Gonzaga versus Baylor, the number 1 against the number 2 team in the nation. What a fantastic basketball game this weekend. And I should check the time on what's that on. I expected it to be like a mid-afternoon game, Kyle. But it's going to interrupt some of the games in college this weekend. Thank God there isn't any huge games in college this weekend. There's great betting angles and stuff. And yeah, I suppose BYU Coastal, but I'm probably going to be watching this Gonzaga Baylor more than anything else, man. What about you?
Yeah, this game tips at noon Eastern, so it's a real early game. I'm kind of surprised they put it at noon Eastern, but national TV, noon Eastern. You want to watch this game if you can at all. Gonzaga and Baylor, it feels like they've cleared everybody else pretty clearly in any power ratings. They'd be number 1 and 2, probably Villanova number 3. Gonzaga has been extremely good so far this year. If you look at what they've done so far this season, a nice win against Kansas, 102-90. The 87-82 win over West Virginia is certainly very impressive. Baylor also has looked pretty good here. Baylor, they only played one really good team. Look, Washington isn't good. They won 86-52 against Washington. Washington lost their top 2 scorers from last year, and then their third top scorer is suspended for this year, at least so far. So Washington's in a lot of trouble right now. But Illinois, nice win, 82-69 over Illinois. I think Baylor probably wants to slow this game down. I don't think Baylor wants to see a 90-88 type game here. If they do, I think they're more than likely setting themselves up to lose because Gonzaga wants to play fast. Gonzaga has that really good offense. Suggs is a great addition to this Gonzaga team. This total has been put out really high. So I think on a neutral court, We've talked about this. If you haven't already listened to it on the Odds Breakers podcast this week, we actually talked about this. So
Mhm.
I guess you'd call this a shameless plug for the Odds Breakers podcast
I
this week.
appreciate it, man.
But but hey, we're allowed to do that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so
of course.
um, neutral court unders, especially at a high number, have done really well in the last 15 years. Just blindly betting neutral court unders, you can be at 56% or better, and that's in a large sample size. And who wouldn't take 56% in a large sample size betting? I mean, that's tremendous. So, I have to lean to the under here pretty strongly. As far as the side, I think you and I might disagree a little bit here. I'm going to take Gonzaga as long as I can get three or better. I think we probably will be able to get three or better. Mark Few has been really good early in the season. I'm going to look this up as we're talking here. Maybe you can take over and say your thoughts, and I'm going to give the stat here on Mark Few in just a minute.
Well, for sure. Yeah, definitely the best game of the year here, and I'm super excited for it. And Butler's got, I think they have the best defense in the whole NCAA. I think so. A lot of people throw out Texas Tech. A lot of people throw out, teams like Wisconsin, West Virginia with Press Virginia and all that. Well, I think Butler's the best, and I've seen them just embarrass opponents. And when I saw them beat Illinois, Illinois was hanging around for a while, but I actually have Illinois high. I actually have Illinois as the best team in the Big Ten by a very thin margin. I mean, it's Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan State. You can throw them up whatever order that you want, but I kind of have it at that order with kind of Rutgers in there as well. I'm a kind of high on Rutgers, but anyways, I just think that Butler is so good at ball control and stopping the inside game. When you get inside, they grab the ball from you. They get blocks. They stop teams inside. Where's Gonzaga's strength? Inside. That's where they score most of their points. 59.3 efficiency, effective field goals from 2-point range. That's very high. Gonzaga has most of their points scored in the paint here. I believe that they rank 17th in the nation on scoring close proximity points, right? And that's pretty, and it's going to get higher when the schedule actually breaks down a little bit. Because one thing you can see about Gonzaga is they do have a weakness. That's their three-point shooting. They rank, if you look at my screen here, and I got to switch it to my screen, I just have KenPom pulled up, most common place that sports bettors look for basketball. They rank 29.1, ranking 188th for three, 29.1 effective percentage. That's not good. Luckily, other teams aren't shooting lights out, but it's still early yet. But that's their weakness. They're not hitting the three. So if they're stopped inside, and they play a very fast game, as you know. I mean, Gonzaga overs were like 25-6 last year. We already hit one on the Kansas game. Then I'm worried about Gonzaga. The question is, can Baylor do it? One thing I'm a little scared about is that Baylor is a little bit shorter than this team. I believe they only rank about 170th-ish in height, when Gonzaga is always in the top 15, top 20 in height. So they do have some big guys down there. I got to tell you that Gonzaga's freshman Jalen Suggs has been very good so far, surprisingly good. I didn't expect him to see so much time on the court so far as just a recruit and five-star recruit, but still, he's killing it. But Drew Time is their stud forward. He's scoring the most points, and then their other forward is also scoring the second most points. So they're getting those points inside the paint, but to me, Jared Butler is such a stud and a beast for Butler. I don't know if he's NBA, but he's dang close. I think Butler's just got a ton of guys that are very close NBA, and their defense is just fantastic. If Butler can take away the inside game, which I somewhat expect them to do, I like them covering over three. But three is my limit too. So you like Gonzaga, Gonzaga 3 or under 3.
Or lower, yeah.
And I like Butler 3 or higher.
Baylor, yeah.
Baylor. I just said Jared Butler, Baylor. So, of course, Butler is another defensive team. Baylor is, to me, has the most upside. I think they're the most complete team because they can also shoot some threes very well. They rank pretty high on the threes. Right now, they're ranked number 10th at 47.3%. That's fantastic. They just need to shoot more threes, as you see on the bottom, this stat here. Switching back to my screen here. If they shot more threes, I think they benefit a little bit more. And they're only ranking 171st in attempts. But this percentage right here tells me good things. Another thing that's a little concerning, more to your side, is they did allow 82 points against Louisiana. And Louisiana is another fast-paced team. Now, of course, they beat them by, 30 points. But still, it's just something to think about. I still like Baylor here to cover the 3.5. Any other thoughts on this game, Kyle?
Yeah, I wanted to say that Mark Few has been money in the bank here early in the season. He's 55 and 35 in the first 6 games ATS. So Few has been really good, and if you look in the first 4 games, he's even better. I'm not sure how many games has Gonzaga played so far this year. This would be game number 4.
Yeah. Yep. 3.
Yeah. So he's 41 and 21 in the first 4 games. So 41 and 21 ATS is nothing to sneeze at, certainly. Few is a really good coach. I think Scott Drew is a good coach too. I think I would give the edge to Mark Few as far as coaching. The thing about Gonzaga, and I'll look long term for them here real quick. I know that everybody has them as number 1 or number 2 now. The question mark about Gonzaga, and I think the reason they haven't been able to win before now in the NCAA tournament, win the entire thing, they play such a weak schedule throughout the course of the season, and then they go and play really good teams in the NCAA tournament. So I know that they schedule up in the non-conference, but then when they get in conference play, Gonzaga plays a lot of weak teams. So the question mark is, can they get over that to win it? I mean, I wouldn't want to take them as the favorite on a future, but I think Gonzaga is a good team. I like them here as long as you're getting 3 or better. But I will say again, my favorite play here is the under. I like under in a neutral court at such a high number.
Yeah, the under. So is that a free play from you then?
Yeah, that'll be my free play for today. I'll give that one out as my free play. Under 163 here for Baylor and Gonzaga. Look, I know this should be a high-scoring game. I'm not trying to say this is going to be a 60-58 game by any means, but 163 is a total that you don't see very often in college basketball, so I have to bet that.
No, I definitely can see that. Well, let's move on to our most likely dog to win outright. And for people that haven't watched the show, it is got to be a -3.5 or better, because you're getting plus 150 or better type odds. So, Kyle, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, and this has been where you've made the most money if you've watched the show so far. So we'll see if I feel like we've set the bar really high here, Kiev. So hopefully we can keep it up, right?
I know.
I'm going to take Boston College here against Virginia. Virginia, a team that I've wanted to bet against here for a while and haven't been able to. They haven't really played a game, and they haven't played anybody that I wanted to bet against them with. Boston College, a team that I think is well coached now. It looks like Jerkovic is going to play in this game. So I think that this is a toss-up game. So we're going to get plus 160 or plus 170 or something like that on Boston College. And I'm going to take that here. I think Boston College has a real chance to win this game. Virginia's defense, not very good. I think Boston College can move the ball a decent amount here. This is a game where I feel like this should be pick'em instead of -4. So at that, I'll take the money line here on Boston College.
All right, good stuff. So for me, I'm going to go for a little bit more money because I've been doing well on it.
You've been hitting them.
So we're going to go with Michigan State versus no, never mind. Don't what's gotten into me. Let's go with Rutgers though, another bad team in the Big Ten, but they're also playing a bad team. Right? They're not playing Ohio State. They're playing Penn State here. What is Penn State doing laying 11 points on the road after what they did this year? Now, I know there's been some misleading final scores, but if you look at their stats, they are still a negative -0.2 yards per play. It's not like they earned anything. They're not as bad as 1-5, but they're probably as bad as like 2-4 or something like that, or 3-3 at best. In my opinion, being a net yards per play, I don't think their schedule is all that hard, minus the Ohio State game. In my opinion, Rutgers is a live dog here. And Greg Schiano, don't think he's not going to know how to beat Penn State. He's had plenty of experience at Ohio State, right? Being a coordinator and stuff. So I think Rutgers is live here at +11. I'm shocked to see this line. I think this line should be more of a 6.5 personally. So that's my play.
Yeah, I like this one too. I have to say that, Penn State, if you look at the numbers, they should be better than 1 and 5, like you said. And I know a lot of people like Penn State here. The line has gone up, and there is some sharp money here on Penn State. And I think it's because, they assume, okay, they won one game, now they get it rolling. But do we even know that Penn State cares at this point? Because maybe they just wanted to get the monkey off their back. And I don't know that they're too invested in this right now, because Penn State had far higher aspirations than being able to beat Rutgers on the road. So Rutgers should be trying hard. And I think that, at this point in the season, I think motivation matters quite a bit. And Rutgers should be motivated in this game. So I think this is probably a close game. And actually, Rutgers +11.5 is on my short list of leans as far as a straight bet. So I certainly like this one as well.
All right, my man. Sounds great. Let's move on right to the NFL then. And we have some very big games. We're not going to talk about Dallas versus the Ravens. Sorry. That's more of a primetime game, but the Ravens are just still too many questions with COVID protocols and stuff like that. And Dallas isn't exactly the funnest team to talk about this year either. I expect the Ravens to win that game and bounce back, but we'll see if Lamar's playing. I expect him to play, but they also had some other guys out too. Just not enough information there. So instead, we're going to do LA Rams against Arizona, and we're going to do Buffalo versus the San Francisco 49ers. And we'll start with the Rams versus Arizona. The Rams are laying around -1, -2 area. Some books a little bit more. 56% of the bets are on the Rams. Switching my screen here, and 68% of the money is on the Rams. It looks like that total is getting hit over now. That's 48. The total was higher before, and it got hit under down to 48. But now it looks like it's getting hit over. I don't think there's any too much of an influence on either side of that personally. But what I do think is that Arizona's got the better offense of players. They have guys like Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, right? Larry Fitzgerald, Drake, Edmonds. They have a really good slate of offense. My concern is always if Kyler Murray can throw to these guys, especially when they're playing against the best secondary in the NFL, right? The Rams have a fantastic defense. So there's a couple ins and outs of this game. Kyler, he's going to have to use his legs if he's going to beat them. He's not going to be able to get those balls to Hopkins, especially with his height. He's got to roll out, and he's probably going to have to get a lot of yards. And if they're going to be in this game, that's what they're going to have to do. The Rams, they're so weird because I'm not high on Jared Goff really. But sometimes they just beat teams that they're not supposed to, and then they all of a sudden lose games to beating down teams like the 49ers, right? I mean, the Niners are so injured this whole year. Guys on IR everywhere, and they're losing that game. It's just coaching mismatches, I guess. But I do think Sean McVay is a fantastic coach, and I give him the coaching edge in this game here. Rams are a +1 net yards per play. The Cardinals are a +0.5 net yards per play, so advantage Rams right there. If they can get to Goff, that's their chance. They have to get to Goff, and Kyler Murray is going to have to win this on his feet because I can see some interceptions thrown if he's try to force something. My algorithm has the Rams winning this game. It's not up to 3, but I have them winning it, and I'm probably going to lean to the under because you might see some serious defense here. Both teams are kind of pissed. They're coming off losses. Arizona shouldn't have lost to the Patriots. They outgained the Patriots by a decent amount, and the Rams are probably pretty upset about losing a division game last week. So I'm going to lean to the under. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the under as well here in this game. And Rams, they've beaten Arizona 5 or 6 times in a row here. So I think McVay has a coaching edge, certainly. The other thing that I think is really important in this game is Kyler Murray still didn't look like he was that healthy last week, that shoulder injury. And Murray was very cautious about running last week. Like you said, if he doesn't want to run a lot in this game, I think they could be in trouble because I don't think he can just sit in the pocket and throw it against this Rams secondary. Look, I've underrated this Rams secondary and the Rams defense in general all season. I'm not going to keep doing it because the Rams have proven it over and over again. They're a really good defense, far better defense than Arizona. Certainly, I think Arizona has more weapons on offense, and I don't love Jared Goff. We never know exactly what we're going to get from him, but I think that the Rams here are the right side. The sharp money has come in on the Rams. The under I lean toward as well. You know, I just don't know what we're going to get from Kyler Murray. And I think that's too big of a question to be betting Arizona. You know, if you don't know what you're going to get from Kyler Murray, you can't take Arizona in this game against that good of a defense.
Very true, very true. I 100% agree here. That's going to be one of the more exciting games coming up this weekend in the NFL. Let's move on to the next one, Buffalo versus San Francisco. Buffalo's laying about a point. The total on this game is 47. I'll let you get started on this one.
Yeah, I don't have anything really strong on this one, so I'll be a little bit quicker here. Buffalo, if I had to take something, I would take Buffalo in this game. San Francisco, I don't know what to make of them because last week's game against the Rams, I feel like was more about the Rams playing down to San Francisco than it was about San Francisco being really good. Mullins is still a weakness at quarterback, certainly. And I do feel like we should at least show some respect toward Josh Allen at this point. I know he had a lot of detractors at the beginning, a lot of people who said, look, this guy's not an NFL quarterback. He's pretty good. I know he makes some mistakes from time to time. His feet can really make some good plays. He can extend plays that way, and he can make some pretty tough passes. I think that Allen is at least, a top 12 quarterback in the NFL, and that's far better than a lot of people would give him credit for being. So the Bills have some nice weapons around him on the outside. I think it could be difficult for the 49ers to stop them consistently. So if I have to take a side here, I'm going to take the Bills. Total, I think the total's about right. I'm guessing I won't bet this game, but I'm going to lean to the Bills.
All right, well, good stuff. I think I agree with you again here as a lean. This game is very interesting to me, but the Bills, the problem, they have a big game coming up here, and it's against Pittsburgh, 215 miles away from Buffalo, right? Pretty close in proximity here. And it's not so much that Pittsburgh is, in their division. They are in the AFC. But it's because they're undefeated. I mean, the Bills are going to want to make a statement next week. They're probably thinking about that a lot, And they're looking at the Niners. They're kind of beat up. They're thinking they should be able to kind of get by them. That's my worry here. My power rankings has it closer to pick them anyway, so it's not a huge play for me. But there's the couple metrics that I notice here. The Niners are not good against running quarterbacks. You've seen that against Russell Wilson. You've seen that against Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's been kind of covering the spread against them for the last 3 games, going back to last year. That's how to beat San Fran. They're pretty good against the pass. They're with their secondary, and they're very good against the run. I think they leave the middle of the field open a little bit too much, but they don't have a pass rush anymore with Bosa gone and Solomon gone. So that's interesting. But I think that Allen is. I agree with you. I think he's a top 12 quarterback for sure. And he's going to probably run around this whole game. Maybe take a yardage prop on Allen. I wouldn't mind to seeing that. I think that'd be a pretty good play there. Yardage prop on him. And the Bills, their weakness is that they're bad against the run. They allow 4.7 yards per rush. That's pretty low for rush. And then you got guys like Mostert back for the 49ers. That worries me, because the 49ers are a fantastic running team, and they're probably going to have Deebo Samuel running the ball too. I would have looked for the under if it wasn't for those two factors myself. So right now it's almost lean to the over because of just how bad they are against the run. I know if running the ball slows down the clock, but if you're getting giant chunks of yards and running out of bounds and scoring on it, it doesn't matter. It's not like the running. I look at running defense for mostly when it comes to that. But as far as this game, I wish I had more for y'all. But I'm going to lean to Buffalo here. But just remember, if they lose this game, they have Pittsburgh on deck, and you can possibly look towards that. Kyle, any final thoughts?
No, I think this one's one of them that it seems like both of us like this game a little bit less than some of the others. So hopefully we gave you some good insight on these other games to help you make some cash.
What I will say is 43% of the tickets right here are on the Niners and 71% of the money. So it is a sharper side. It's not like moving the total. It's not like moving it up to 3, like hit by a bunch of very large syndicates or anything. But it's just something to pay attention to. People are fading the Bills in the letdown spot, and some public people are probably just jumping on the 49ers after they beat the Rams. So bad spot for the 49ers, really. I mean, I don't see them winning any. I don't think they can win. Seattle's record's so good. I guess they're probably mathematically in, but I just don't see it happening. What leaves us to our free play, Kyle, and I think you already gave yours out, the Butler under. And if you don't take that now, you better, because it's getting down to 162 now. I just looked at, but the Baylor versus Gonzaga under. I keep saying Butler for some reason. So great play there. I'm going to give out one a little bit under the radar game. I like Ball State +1, and that's starting to move away from this as well. And the reason that is because Central Michigan's quarterback, Daniel Richardson, is out this game. He's pretty much their whole team, for what he does there. That's huge. And I did like Central Michigan coming in. I know they had that awful game against Western Michigan, which I'm still pissed about. I lost a ticket on that one. But Ball State, they came in, they had a bad start, losing Miami, Ohio somehow. Then they don't cover against a bad Eastern Michigan team. Then they just kind of kept winning, and then they just put it to Toledo last week. It's kind of like they're in a little groove here. But one thing I noticed is that they only allow 3.5 yards per run. So if you're taking a Central Michigan team that lost their quarterback and they're facing a tough rushing defense, I wouldn't say tough, they're MAC tough, I guess, then that definitely makes me want to favor Ball State here. So that's my free play. I don't know if you looked at that game, Kyle.
Yeah, I lean Ball State as well. I don't know if that I'll bet this game, but that's certainly my lean in this one. Ball State, I think, is a pretty good team for a MAC team. Obviously, everything's graded on a curve in the MAC because those teams are really weak, especially the bottom of the conference. But I like that lean as well. I'm going to give a bonus free play here. I already gave one with the Baylor under. I'm going to take Bama in the first half against LSU. So I think -17 is what I saw there. I wouldn't go higher than 17. So if it's higher than 17, I'm not going to take it. But I think Alabama really wants to take it to LSU in this game. I'd be surprised if they don't. LSU was pretty excited after winning that game last year. You can't blame them. But I know Bama players weren't very happy with the way they celebrated at the end of the game last year. So I think Bama pretty hungry to go in there and take LSU. So I'm going to lay the points here with Bama in the first half.
I agree with you, and I don't even see the 17's funny to me because I don't think Alabama's going to kick a field goal the whole game. It's like just say 3 scores. Just say 3 scores the first half, So, no, a great play. I think that's going to go up too. It's funny. It's going to be one of those lopsided halftime plays and not matching the final and the total. So it's going to be really interesting on that one. But no, I lean Bama for everything this game for sure. And I love the play, Kyle. I think it's a great play. Any final thoughts?
Well, I got one more angle. I always want to give some kind of angle for people. I got a angle here that it might not help you a lot this week. There's only one that fits it, and I'll get Kiev's thoughts on this to see if he likes this angle as far as going forward. But you look at recent turnover differential, and this is in college football. Everybody knows college football is my first love. I like it a little bit better than the NFL. Love the college sports. Recent turnover differential, 2-game turnover differential streak, -2.5 or more per game in a 2-game sample. So you've been really doing bad with the turnover margin. And in the next game, the third game after that, that team is 421 and 333 ATS. That's 56%. I think this makes sense because turnovers are usually somewhat random. You're not going to get -4 or -5 in turnover margin every single game, unless you're Duke football this year. Then maybe you can, but most people can't do that consistently. Recent turnover differential, as a big negative streak like that, you bet the team in the next game. There's only one that fits that this week. I don't know that either one of us are really excited to take this one. It would be Nebraska against Purdue. Nebraska is really a mess. I don't think I'll take Nebraska in this game, but I think it's a good angle to watch in the future to see teams that have had 2 games in a row where they're really big negative turnover margin because the market gets really low on them. Nobody wants to bet them in that third game, so definitely one to keep an eye on.
No, I love the angle because back my playing football days, after a game of turnovers, we are all running laps.
Yeah.
And if you do two in a row, then you're really in trouble. Probably doing a bunch of push-ups and up downs and all that fun stuff. So I can see some holding onto the ball, and I can see that the perception on people betting against those teams that lose, because I think that number is like 74% of the teams that win cover the spread if they win the turnover battle, which is an amazing stat. So that I can see why you're on the plus side for that. So I love the trend, Kyle. I think it's fantastic, man. Good stuff. Where can people can find your information and plays this week?
You can go over to huntersportspicks.com. You can check out all the packages and subscriptions there. College basketball subscription, discounted price here this week. I'm going to get a lot of plays throughout the course of the season for college basketball. A pretty good start there in college basketball so far, 2-0 in the 5-star top-rated plays as well, which those are really rare, but they're 10-1 in the last 11 plays that are 5-star. So those have done really well. Keep an eye out for those. As far as college football, also, we still have plenty of college football left, so look for my season subscriptions over there at huntersportspicks.com. And also, if you want free play, sign up for my free picks newsletter there at huntersportspicks.com. I'll be sending out a free play here later today for the college football slate on Saturday.
And you guys can check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. We always have free plays for you. It's going to be running throughout the whole basketball season, and we even do a little baseball in the summer, a few free plays here and there throughout the summer to keep you guys rolling here. And obviously, if you want to become a premium member and support us, we are very, very thankful for that. You can always check us out and have $24.99 a month, and you will get all my plays and premium plays. And I try to make those plays before the line moves nice and early, and also late, right before the games start, if the lines moved in my favor. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Really appreciate it. Love it if you could share this video podcast, I suppose. And if you have any feedback, or if you have any questions, or if you want us to just break down a game, please tweet Kyle Hunter at Kyle Hunter Picks or us at the Odds Breakers. Have a great weekend.
Good luck, guys.